All right, what's up? Tim Sykes here with Jack Kellogg, part 4 of our Dubai interview. Click some links below. You can see parts 1, 2, and 3. We're going over his whole journey from former valet to now 12.2 million in trading profits. Former 2 small town Connecticut boys now traveling the world, living our dreams. We want to inspire you. We want to show you what's possible. Not that you're necessarily going to be the next millionaire. 90% of traders lose. Understand that we both grinded so hard. He actually was trading with mono in strep. I've been trading for freaking 2 decades. We both have had massive losses. We've learned from those losses. We've learned to control our mistakes. It's a journey. And like I say, it's a marathon, not a sprint. But pretty crazy. In 2.5 years since we last filmed like one of these little 4-parters in New Hampshire, you can click the links below to see that. He was at 1.7 million then. Now he's at 12.2. 10.5 million in 2.5 years. And the market hasn't been that hot for the past like year and a half. So he's done very well. We want to show you, frankly, like how can you actually do the seemingly impossible? That's what this whole series is. Not that everyone's going to be a millionaire, but there are steps that you can take in your own life to increase your odds of success. What were some of the steps that over the past 2.5 years, when you were at 1.7 million, what were you thinking? Because you're already a millionaire, borderline like after taxes, but like you had already achieved a lot in like basically 22 years of life. And like, how long were you studying for? 5 years at that point? 4 years? When did you start? You started 2017?
January 2017.
So when I saw you, you had been, it's like your 4-year journey and you're at 1.7 million. What did you think right then after you were sick, when like your clarity like in your health came back? How have you gone from 1.7 to 10 point or 12.2? What were the steps needed to really keep growing exponentially, to keep pushing yourself? In the last video, we talked about how we both had doubters and haters, and that helped us fuel us. But once you have success, I think that's a good lesson. How do you still keep going?
Yeah, so motivation I think is the most important thing, because if you have success, if I made like $2 million by the end of 2020, right? And I could have just stopped right there. You're still 7 figures after taxes. Whatever, maybe you invest the money, you're done trading, it's too stressful, whatever it is. That's not what it was for me. Right, I wanted to hit that next stride. A big thing is seeing what Grittani did, right? He's an 8-figure trader. And I saw how many 7-figure traders were coming up, and it wasn't good enough for me, right? There were so many 7-figure traders. Tim now has almost 40, right? And you're still in that top 5 to 10%, but what does it take to get into the 1%? What does it take to make $10 million, right? And that's kind of what I had my goal on, right? Now the next goal is $100 million, which is very, very hard. Like I would have to work a very hard time, and I don't know if I'm gonna get there. I don't have as much passion as I did when I was between 1 and 10 million. Also, having $1 million, I feel like you can't really do everything that you want to do, right? Like once you have 10, 20, 30 million dollars, that's basically becoming a billionaire. Not a billionaire, but that's basically becoming
freedom.
It's freedom. You can do whatever the hell you want, right? There's almost zero, unless you want to own jets and yachts, which isn't my goal, right? That's not my goal. My goal is just to have freedom to do whatever I want and to have the security, to have health, all this stuff. And that was really my goal. I wanted to get to that top 1%. Now, what does that take? How do you do it? How do you go from 1 to 10? It's just the same thing as going from 100 to 1 million. It's just bigger numbers. It's dealing with those bigger drawdowns. It's dealing with that stress. But I always think of things as percent. Losing 40 grand between 1 and 10 million is 4%, right? I lost 35 grand on LKNCY when I was around $7 million, 8 million or $700,000 or $800,000. Then I lost $300,000 or $400,000 when I was around 5, 6, 7, 8 million. Same thing, same percent, just one more zero, right? And that's what a lot of people, they can't get to that level because they have these narrow minds, because they're too scared to lose that amount of money. They're too scared to bet that amount. But for me, it's the same exact process, even of making that zero or that $1,000 to $10,000. A $400 loss is the same as a $4,000 loss when you're a millionaire, and the same thing as a $400,000 loss, right? It's all relatively the same. It's just another zero, and that's exactly how I thought of it. I just thought of things as volume, right? If I'm trading 100,000 shares, now I'm going to need to trade 1 million shares, and it's just a learning process because it is way more difficult to trade bigger size, especially in the penny stocks, because of their lack of liquidity, their lack of volume. So it's about finding those opportunities where you can risk $10, $20, $30,000 to make $100, $200, $300,000. I've never even had a trade in one account over $300,000, right? Never. And
for you.
But what I'm saying is that for now, I've kind of hit this max stride in penny stocks where risking 10, 20, 30 grand to make 1, 2, 300,000, whatever it is, that almost feels like the peak for me. If I wanted to make $1, 2, $3 million, you either have to do options, you have to trade large caps, you have to risk $1, 2, $300,000. And that's, I don't know if I want that stress. Like, I'm very happy now making a couple $1 million per year, $2, $3 million per year, whatever it's going to be. And that's going to add up over time. If I do that for the next 5 to 10 years, then I can be sitting with 20, 30, 40 million dollars in trading profits and achieve everything that I've ever wanted to achieve in regards to that. So that's kind of my next goal, and that's how I got from where I was. Now that's where I'm thinking about it.
You said a lot of great stuff there. Probably the most important for you is the fact that there is exponential growth. I always say study hard, work hard, but I get messages from some people, I'm working 2 jobs, 3 jobs. I'm already working myself to death. I can't work any harder. You can change the way you work, right? Many of you are working 2, 3 jobs, but you're like in these jobs that can't grow exponentially. Like if you're getting paid hourly, if you're an Uber driver, if you're a chef, if you're a trainer. Like, okay, there's only so much time in the day. You can only train so many clients. You can only cook so many meals. You can only give so many Uber rides. I'm not saying any of those are bad jobs, but it's very difficult to grow that income exponentially. You can't grow your time exponentially. You're limited by your time. And you're also dependent on like being healthy. What if you're a trainer, but then, you get sick for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months and you can't train anybody? There goes your income. This is why I love the internet. This is why I love, scalable income strategies where if you learn what Jack is talking about, like where you're adding an extra zero. Let's say you're buying an OTC breakout, perfect 1 month breakout over $3 a share. You buy 10,000 shares. Can you buy 50,000 shares? Can you buy 100,000 shares? OTCs haven't had that much volume lately. He's trading more choppy stocks. I haven't been doing that great lately. I'm still green, which is good, but I'm not having the $1 million years that I had in 2020, 21 because OTC volume is down much. I try to trade some NASDAQs, but I usually screw up like on BBAI. That's not my expertise. So you have to find what you're good at and you have to try to scale that. If you are a trainer, guess what? You can create online videos, train people like that. That way, spend a whole week, spend a month filming, editing your own videos, come out with like an app, charge people, whatever. If you're an Uber driver, again, giving individual drives, individual rides, you only make so much. But what if you, save up money or, borrow money and you pool together a lot of Uber drivers and then you're getting cuts. And let's say you manage like 20 Uber drivers. You're still doing your own driving, or maybe you're just managing the other 19 drivers, but now your income can go up dramatically. There's also greater risk. What if no one's driving with Ubers? What if we go back into quarantine and now you have 20 Ubers under your management, but no one's using them? So there's greater risks when you're putting more money at stake. But at the same time, like that's how you grow exponentially. And like Jack said, $1 million doesn't go as far as it used to go, right? Like, oh, I'm a millionaire. There's more millionaires these days. It doesn't really give you that freedom. Like he said, 10, 20, 30 million does, especially in Dubai. I know a lot of traders here. He knows some traders here. There's favorable tax issues here in like Puerto Rico. I'm not a tax guy. I'm not an advisor or accountant. Seek out professional advice for that. But there's so many things that you have to think about in terms of growing your wealth exponentially so that you can live your dream life. Think about this now. And I know some people will say like, Tim, I only have a few $1,000s in my account. Being like making $1 million or 10 million, I'll take either. But it's the same thought process where you want to push yourself as far as you want. Some people say like, I don't even want to be a millionaire. I just want to make an extra 10,000. But learn a strategy that can earn you 10,000, 10,000, 10,000 over time. You might not want to be a millionaire, but if you study enough, it actually really helps you. You don't get to like choose like, oh, I'm just going to make 10,000 with all my expertise. If you become a true expert at trading, you can make $1 million. If you become a true expert at, like you said, like options or Forex, more scalable things, you can make 100 million. You can make billions. Some of the biggest traders make billions per year. Everyone idolizes entertainment figures and sports stars. They don't make billions aside from like Ronaldo or like just a few. There's probably, I don't know, I think there was a list of like last year was tough, but like the last 5 years, there's probably over 50 or maybe even 100 hedge fund managers and traders who have made billions. You don't even know their names. It's not Ronaldo, it's not Michael Jordan, but trading is very scalable, but it also depends on your strategy. I'm comfortable taking small gains. Like you also have to find your comfort level. You don't have to necessarily make $1 million. You don't have to necessarily make 10 million because it is more stressful. It is risky. It does impact your health. But you can do amazing things if you start to get on this exponential growth curve. I think that's the most important.
Yeah, I wanted to speak about something that Tim said at the beginning. He was talking about how to work hard, and he was saying like working smart, right? And there is a way to work smart. Like if you're working a job that you can only make $100 per day if you do your job perfectly, you're only going to ever make $100 unless you find a $20 bill on the ground, right? And for me, since the beginning, like I did valet, where who knows how much you're going to make? Who knows if someone's going to come in with a Bentley and tip you $100? You don't know. And I've always liked that unknown.
And you can't rely on it though either too.
Yes,
if you're
you
a
can.
valet and you're like, oh, I need to make a lot of money. You don't know if someone's going to come with a Bentley. What if there are no Bentleys, especially in this recent economy?
Same thing with trading. You never know what the market's going to be. You don't know if you're going to make or lose money or not make anything, right? But once you put yourself in the position to make money, when you put yourself on a good trade, at a good location, at a good restaurant where good cars could show up and nice potential people to tip you well, and that's always like what I've done is put myself in a position where there's possibilities for a lot of good. And you've heard through other people, you've heard through experts, you've heard through other coworkers that this is a good spot, this is a good occupation to make a lot of money. Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, Burger King, that's never going to get you anywhere. You always need to seek out what is the best potential opportunity. And also find something, and you're constantly working on something bigger. Like Tim said, you're working on a business in your spare time. For me, when I was valeting, I have earbuds in, and I'm listening to Tim speak, and I'm listening to Chow Traders, and I'm listening to YouTube educational content over and over while I'm valeting the cars. Maybe during your Uber, you have one AirPod in and you're listening to motivational podcasts, whatever. Are you maximizing your time or are you just listening to music, right? Are you going home and watching Netflix or are you studying? And that is the opportunity that you have because it really doesn't take that long in your life to really make a difference, right? Like what is 3, 4, 5, even 10 years of your life? Like it should be only 10, 15%, 20% of your life. And you still have that 3/4 of your life still to live. So it just takes a lot of work up front, but in the end, it's going to pay off huge.
It's a lot about opportunity. I like what he said there, where you're putting yourself in a better position. I don't know if there's going to be a mania anytime soon. I actually hope that the next mania is like 2028, 2029, 2030. I find that students actually learn better lessons when the market is slow, when there's not so many plays. In 2020, 2021, so many plays, my lessons didn't really, click with a lot of people because they're like, you're a boomer, you don't understand the new market, Atlas trading is the future. And I was just like, you're helpless, just blow up and then come back to me, which is what happened, okay? You can always ignore expertise, you can always ignore experience, but again, I've seen booms, I've seen busts. I know when things start to get too frothy. I didn't know the exact top, like no one did. But at the same time, you start to know, okay, this is the time to really push it with trading. 2020, 2021, we each made millions of dollars during the mania. 2022, 2023, push it with your education. We don't know any traders who are really like, wow, this is my best year ever. Most traders are still saying 2020, 2021, that was their best earning year.
Tim Leto.
Right? But you can still learn right now. It's not like, oh, the market's slow, let me not study at all. That's a mistake that a lot of people make. Because there's not huge profit opportunities right now, people slack on their education. Then when the next mania is there, they're going to be unprepared. picture this is like the off season. I bring up sports stars a lot. I love sports. I think it's very inspirational what Michael Jordan has done, LeBron, Kobe, Ronaldo. They're putting in so much time, and not just them, but like many star athletes put in time when there's no games, when there's no fans, when it's the middle of the night where, they're making millions. They don't need to make any more, but they're pushing themselves even in the off season because they have that desire for more success, for more greatness. And it's that desire and it's that pushing themselves that actually allows them to achieve huge success in the World Cup, in the Super Bowl, in the World Series. You don't see that though. You're just like, wow, this guy is so great, and female athletes too. But I'm saying, like, when there's a big game or when there's like everyone's watching, how do you actually perform? When there's the next mania, how are you going to succeed? If you just do nothing and you don't prepare right now during the slow period, when there's a great opportunity, you will be unprepared. You will not truly maximize it or capitalize on it. Jack and a lot of my other new millionaire students started in 2017, 2018, 2019, when the market wasn't very hot, but they were lucky. They were in the right place at the right time. The harder you work, the luckier you get. So that they had 1, 2, 3 years of experience. So they were prepared to capitalize on 2020 and 2021. If you just started in 2020 or 2021, you learned the wrong lessons. You probably lost most or all of your money in 2022. You're behind the curve. Right now, as you're watching this is April 2023 when we're filming this. It is a slow market. The Nasdaq's still up 20%. So a lot of people are just spoiled, but compared to 2020, 2021, this is a slow market. You should be studying. You should recognize and be grateful for this slower market so that you can prepare. You have time. There's not so many plays per day. How many times are you trading per day right now?
1, 2, or 3 trades, just small.
In 2020, 2021, how many trades were you doing per day?
10, 20, 30.
So for me, I alert every trade in and out, so I have to like type it out. During 2020, 2021, I looked down at my fingers. I was like, I don't have enough fingers to like do all the trades, to type out all the alerts. So I was trading like 5, 10, 15 times a day, which was crazy. Right now, it's like 1, 2, 3 a day. So a lot of people want the 2020, 2021 market again. It's not happening right now. There's no quarantines. There's no stimulus checks. We're still kind of in this hangover from the party that was 2020, 2021. Be grateful for the slow period. Use this slow period. Get healthy, travel, spend more time with friends and family, study more. It's not just about money. Every year, every market is slightly different, but you can still maximize it if you're meticulous. Don't just waste it. Don't just say, oh, the market's slow, I'm not going to think about it at all. Wake me up in 2 or 3 years, right? Like, you're still learning right now. I mean, you're still up over $1.5 million in the first few months of 2023. But even if you weren't up $1.5 million, you're still studying, learning, optimizing.
Always. There's always a new lesson to learn in the market. And,
why do you think people don't want to do that? Like, you and I are always learning. We're students. Doesn't matter how successful we are, how much money we have. We still have that thought process. We can learn more. We can do better. A lot of people just stop learning. They're like, I've made enough, or there's no opportunities, and they make excuses. Why do you think that is?
They just don't love the game enough. They just love money. Like, I've been chasing more of the perfect trade and the perfect system and the perfect process to then trade over and over and over again and just have this process that I love to execute every single day. But in 2020 and 2021, you just throw a dart, right? It goes up 10x. And that's what people like. They liked making the money. They liked putting in a position. They liked holding. They liked riding the wave and selling into the wave. And now it's not like that anymore. To pick a winner now in this market is very difficult. And especially if you don't have a lot of knowledge, especially if you haven't been studying the past 5, 10, 20 years, for you to just wake up in this market and pick the next 500% runner is very, very unlikely.
Not gonna happen.
Very unlikely. But in 2020, 2021, it was very easy for a lot of people because everything was going up. There was 0 stocks on the NASDAQ under $1. Now there's probably 1,000 or 2. And that's what people like. They just like the money. So if you just like the money and you don't really love trading, like if it's annoying for you to study, if it's annoying for you to trade, if you would rather go golf, if you have bigger passions than trading, then it's probably not for you, and you shouldn't waste a ton of time on it. But if you get butterflies in your stomach, like when you're meeting a girl for the first time and you're super in love with trading, then, in my opinion, you have room to really be successful if you do all the things that we've been talking about over this 4-part series. And I think what we should call it is how to achieve the seemingly impossible.
That's why I'm wearing this shirt, okay? Seriously, you need to fall in love with the process of education. And it's not just trading. Some people watching this, you're not traders, that's fine, okay? It's not for everybody. But cherish the opportunity to, hone your skills. Like I said, this is the most exciting time in history. We're able to share this message with you, come to you from Dubai. You can learn from anybody in any field right now. It's all online. This was not possible in previous years. Like, if you go back a few centuries, the smartest person in your village might have read one book. And it's not like even like a factual, like nonfiction book. The smartest person might have just read like one fiction book. And they're still the smartest person in the village because there wasn't easy access to information or education. You don't have that problem. Now, you actually have an overload of information and education. You need to go through it all. You need to curate that information. Then you need to compartmentalize that information and then utilize your education and maximize your earnings. I know that's a lot of work. People just give me a hot stock pick. I just want money. That's the problem. You just want picks. You want to rely on somebody else. You need to look at yourself. You need to internalize this. How can you get so smart? How can you get so educated? How can you get so self-sufficient that you will have success in the long run, right? Never want any hot picks from anybody else. We're all different. Jack takes trades a lot of the time that I'm not comfortable with. I take trades that he doesn't like. I was saying come back to the OTCs because they're easier. He agrees that they're easier, but now he has a bigger account, and he actually said this. I don't know if you remember this. You tweeted at me. Like, I tweeted at you. I was like, yeah, these choppy NASDAQs, they suck. Come back to OTCs. And you're like, yeah, but you can only make 5 or 10,000. Mm-hmm. That's hilarious to me. For him, that's not enough because he's trying to push himself. He's made more than me in like a third of the time. For me and for you, 5 or 10,000 is amazing, okay? So every trader is different. You have to recognize where you are in your journey. If 5 or 10,000 isn't enough for you, go for bigger fish. If you want bigger fish, there's going to be bigger risk, more stress. I like trying to make 1,000 or 2 a day. I've stopped really trying to go too big because I'm like trading and traveling, and I've chosen my life. I built my life around small gains, and I built my education business around teaching people to make small gains. That's what works for me. You have to find what works for you. It's not just about making the most money. People don't realize this. I talked with a lot of big traders. He talks with big traders. A lot of the biggest traders, they hate trading because it's so stressful. They want to make enough to retire. For me, I'm not that stressed. I don't think I'll ever retire because I love teaching, and I'm fine with making small gains. You have to make peace with that. You have to find your limits. You can push your limits or you can get comfortable. But either way, you're still learning. Just because I'm comfortable with making small gains doesn't mean I'm always going to make small gains, especially if I stop learning, if I stop paying attention. It's not like small gains are just going to be given to me. I'm not like a trust fund baby, like small gains. Yes, bring the small gains
Give me my 2K
Yeah,
paycheck.
right? I'm not a trust fund guy. I can still lose. I lost $8,000 the other day. That was, my biggest loss, nearly $8,000. It sucked. I got away from my own discipline. I got a little too greedy.
Hung out with me for too long.
Exactly, right? I got degenerate. Anyways, the point is, you always have to invest in your education. You never stop learning, no matter how successful you've been in the past. We're all one trade away from getting very humbled, right? If you ever get too cocky, the market will humble you. And all your little assumptions of like how much money you can make, and it all goes to nothing. What are you laughing at?
You at the lounge. Stock.
I still, am a degenerate. Sometimes I have to recognize that. Part of the reason why I travel, not just because I love it, because I overtrade. Especially if I'm in one place, if I'm not jet lagged, if I have perfect Wi-Fi, I will overtrade. I was in really good Wi-Fi in Miami for 2 weeks. I lost a few $100s because I just traded, and it was so stupid and it's a waste of time. Trading can be a massive time suck. It's a very slippery slope. One last tip. We got to go in a second. Give them one tip from overarching from your whole journey. What can people take away from this?
I would say the number one tip that I have that I think would resonate with the majority of you that are watching this right now and who have made it to the end. And the tip for me is going to be to block in small gains at the beginning, especially when you're learning, and also cut your losers quick. Like it's very, very simple tip, but I think too many beginners are going for home runs. They see the big dollars, they want to make millions right away, but my tip is take small gains because they add up over time, and cut your losses quick.
I might have said that once or twice, so I'm glad that he's repeating those lessons. Also, it's not just about money. This is my last tip. Taking small gains, taking small losses is not fun. You know, you have friends and family being like, oh, penny stocks are a scam, Tim stocks is a scam. Look at your small gains or small losses. All my top students had small gains and small losses. You're learning the process of how to take small gains and how to take small losses. And like Jack said earlier, then you add a 0 to your position size. Instead of taking 1,000 shares, you take 10,000 shares.
I have a good comparison.
Tell me.
A $50 gain on a $10 risk is exactly the same trade as a $5,000 gain on a $1,000 risk. And
5 to 1.
5 to 1, exactly. It's the same exact trade. It's the same exact process. It's just more zeros, right? And it's just as good as a trade, right? It's the same exact trade. If you see me make 20 grand on a setup and I'm risking $5,000 or $10,000, and you make $200 risking 20, that's a better trade because you're making more risk to reward ratio, right? So that's the way you have to think of it.
Yeah, and I will encourage you, especially in the beginning. Remember, he lost 2,600 year one. Tim Grattani broke even after 9 months, but by year 3, Grattani was a millionaire. So it's really good to practice and hone your skills and optimize your process with small size. If you take too much size too early on, the money's going to distract you. You're not going to be able to be disciplined. You're not going to learn how to scale up over time. So start small, trade a lot, learn a lot. Click some links below. We're going to include a bunch of videos. Thank you, Jack Kellogg. Congratulations. Everyone thank him for sharing his journey so openly. Get inspired. Don't think that you're necessarily going to be like this, but realize that we're average people from small town Connecticut. And if we can do this, anybody can do this, but you're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to study a lot. You're going to have to put in a lot more time and effort, especially in the beginning. And then again, the education never stops. But you have the opportunity to do amazing things. Ignore doubters, haters, negative people. Be positive, dedicated, patient, ambitious. Let's see what you got.